What's going on, everybody? It's the Beard. This is Bearded Ballistics, and today we're going to mount and boresight an MSR. So if you've never done it, or if you're having trouble doing it, maybe some of these tips and tricks will help you find the success that you're looking for. So stay tuned. And before we get to it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop a comment below, and let me know if this video helped. And a quick disclaimer, I am not saying that my way is the only way to do it and the best way to do it. There's a million ways to do this. I'm just going to show you how I do it, and it's been pretty successful for me so far. So when you're shopping optics, the tube size of the optic is going to determine the inside diameter of the ring or mounting platform that you'll need to use. So this has a 30mm tube. These have 30mm holes. Success. Before I start anything, I'm just going to revert back to bare. I'm going to take the rifle off the sled. We're going to start over. So always ensure that your firearm is clear and safe. Check for clear and safe. Clear, safe. Alright, now that you have your rifle mounted into your sled or your bench or whatever you're going to be working on at the time of, a couple things to get in order. You're going to want to level the rifle on both axes. It doesn't so much matter on an MSR platform because you only have one deck height. However, on some bolt actions, you will find success in having the gun on a level plane, both axes, to do all of your optic adjustments. And you can do it either one or two ways. You can mount another bullet level just right on the top, and then with the bench you should be able to tighten it down and get it to where you need it to be. Another good way to do this is once you have your rings or your cantilever mounted and the tops of the heads off, you can run the bullet level right on the top of the ring set. And so we're just going to tighten this up so it doesn't move anymore. Now we're good. We can check that again later. We do recommend that you run a cantilever over two separate rifle rings. A couple reasons. This is actually going to be a one-piece base, which is going to be a much sturdier foundation for your optics. Also, you're going to correct your eye relief. By pushing the optic forward, it's going to give you a lot more opportunity to adjust your eye relief for how you shoot, which is going to make this rifle even more personalized to you. So this is pretty simple stuff. You can only go in one way on a cantilever or a pick rail, excuse me. Find the two slots that it'll find and mate to. Tighten it up, finger tight, nothing crazy. So here we go. Now we're going to get the head bolt or the head bolts out. It's very important that you take your time in this step because you don't want to scratch anything that you just paid for. Ensure you're using the correct size bits for the correct size bolts. You don't want to strip anything. Again, we're just going to double check for plumb or for level. So on this axis we are level. Again, this axis is not so important right now. So moving on. Then you grab yourself your optic. Today we're using the Vortex Tactical Diamondback 6x24 50. This is a really nice unit actually. Now, this is also going to be a personal preference, where you put your optic. Now, if you are more aft on your rifle or more forward on your rifle, you'll have to adjust your eye relief on your optic. Now, if you sit more forward on your rifle, you can push your optic forward. If you're more aft on your rifle, then you can run it back. Good rule of thumb that I've found, especially on an MSR chassis, is trying to line up the back of the glass with the charging handle. I don't know why, it just so happens to work out that way. But again, everybody's different and you will have to dial this to your preference. But we're going to start off there. So I know that this rifle is currently level. So these turrets do not come off. In a model that the turrets would come off in order to expose the adjustment dial, you would want to run the bullet level on the dial itself, not the cap. So these don't come off, so I can't take anything out. Now this is actually the pretty easy part. The hard part comes when you go to install the heads of the bracket. Once you start tightening these down, it's going to want to pull and twist the optics. So the name of the game and the objective here is to tighten it evenly so it sits straight down. A lot easier said than done. On some applications, this is going to take you the longest time of the job. So what I like to do is I like to start all of the bolts first so that I know that they're all in and not cross-threading or getting caught up on anything. Here comes the fun part. So of course, if your foundation isn't level, your optic isn't going to be level. So if you are ever unsure, if you feel like you've bumped the rifle, just revert back to the rifle, try to get back to the center as best as you can, and boom, you'll find that we bumped the rifle, no longer level. So now we got to start back all over. So before we tighten down this any further, we got to re-level the rifle, get this back to where we need it to be. So I'm just going to set my bullet level back onto the top of the pick rail, get her back tightened up. So again, this is where you're going to take the most of your time because you want to make sure you're doing a good job. So back to level, tightened it back up. We're going to attempt to move forward. So this gap is looking a little bit wider than this gap. Quarter turn at a time and a quarter turn at a time. Now that gap is about even on both sides of that optic on the front set. So I'm just going to bring this fourth head bolt back and match it up to everything else. I didn't lie to you when I told you that this is the part that takes the most time. So we're just going to get that. So we did shift just a tab. That's back. That's back. That's still level. That's now level again. All right, we're moving forward. Now, of course, too, with a nicer bench or, you know, like a gunsmith workstation, you might be able to have a more secure platform to work off of. Right now, these tipped-in gun vices, they work really well. They're cheap. You can put them anywhere. Take them with you to the range if you wanted to. All right, so I'm just going to bring now, I'm working on the back set of head bolts and come back later to torque them. Refer to your manufacturer torque specs for your head bolts and your mounting bolts because they're always different. Now, that is one level optic, and just to ensure the rifle is still level as well. So that is done. So I know from here we're level and here we're level. So now all we're going to do is work on the eye relief and get this full sight window. This is really easily done too. Simply, once you have it all tightened and it won't move anymore, pick the rifle up, make your adjustments, and you're going to want to shoulder the rifle. You're going to want to figure out where that optic opens up a full sight window for you. And by the full sight window, I mean the black ring of death. So if you're too far, you're going to see that black ring start to close up on your field of vision. And if you're too close, it's going to be like looking through the optic backwards. So ensure this has to move forward. Now the cool thing about MSRs is once all this is dialed in, I can actually move the mount and it should stay level. But I'm only going to move it 2 slots forward on the deck, and now I'm going to recheck it. So make sure that's back on fully seated before you start tightening it. You don't want to damage anything. Pick the rifle back up, shoulder it. Now we have the full sight window that is very comfortable and clear. Now that your rifle's all assembled and everything is where you need it to be, now we're going to torque everything down. So from Vortex's website, you'll find 15 to 18 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. So we're going to take, this is a wheeler unit, which is just a torquing screwdriver. It does have an adjustment dial, and it is in inch-pounds. So we are going to set it to 15 inch-pounds. And utilizing the same bit as we were using earlier, just simply go back through and give them a click. So you're just gonna twist until it pops. That lets you know you're within torque. All the while trying not to scratch anything, cross thread anything, hollow out a bolt head. So obviously this is one of those moments where taking your time and doing a good job is going to pay off in the long run. If you rush it and bang it out real quick, you're going to find out on the firing line that you did not do a very good job. Now that everything is tight, the next step in process would be the boresighting process. Today I'm using a Wheeler product. This is a magnet. So magnet, just set it up against the muzzle, the muzzle brake itself, and the only thing running a magnet over something that would go in the bore or in the chamber is finding center of bore. So I'm going to set the proper expectation now. It's very hard to find the center of bore on a magnet. Now that you're somewhere where you can bore sight safely, do ensure that your firearm is still clear and safe. And today we're going to be boresighting off of a shooting tripod. These are awesome, so if you haven't already picked one of these up, please do. This is going to make a lot of your efforts easier. So here is the bore sight. This is just going to adhere right to the muzzle brake. And I'm doing my best to try to find the center of bore. Now again, it's very difficult to do so when you're not in the bore. Activate the bore sight laser, and now you are here. Now without actually having camera capabilities to record exactly what I'm doing, right now on our crosshairs, my bore sight is showing that we're down and to the right of the reticle. So we're going to chase down and to the right, and by doing so you're going to bring the elevation down and your windage to the right. Now, if you're having some difficulty seeing exactly where the crosshairs meet up, I do like to increase the power on a variable optic. And this just helps me dial it in just a bit more from the eye. Right there, we are pretty good. Now the only thing I haven't discussed already is the side focus on this optic in particular. It does run from 20 yards all the way up to an infinity yard. I like to do all of my boresighting at 200. That basically tells the optic that at max you're trying to make a 200-yard shot. So theoretically, if you boresight at 25, it should put you on paper at 100. With minor adjustments, now you're touching 200 and push out further and further from there. So it's always going to start at 25 yards, and that's going to get you on paper at 100, theoretically. Does it always happen? Absolutely not. All right, we are back from the range. We have successfully boresighted this rifle, but we're not done yet. There is one step left to do, and this is probably the most important, is resetting your turrets back to zero. What you're gonna do is you're gonna remove the turrets themselves and orientate them back to zero, because now that you have sighted this rifle in to yourself, this becomes your new norm. I'm not going to do that with this rifle because this is all demonstration purposes, but that would be your last step. Then once everything is bolted on and boresighted and you are happy with the results, go ahead and throw your scope protector back on and call it a day. All right, now we don't really need the bench so much anymore, so we're just going to go ahead and get that out of our way. It does help to get the rifle out of your hands. Now, because I'm a little OCD and a perfectionist, I like to go one step further and just make sure there's no handprints, fingerprints, smudges, scratches. What I like to do, I like to use two types of rags. This is a microfiber towel, and then this is a more fine microfiber towel. So one's going to be really good for cleaning, getting smudges out, and then the more finer material would be a nice polishing rag and just like a detail rag, really. So you can use or you cannot use any type of solvents for this job. What I've found is sometimes just wiping it down, you'll get a lot of that oil, smudges, fingerprints, stuff like that. Especially if you're working on a customer's or a client's firearm. Every scratch, nick is gonna come out of your pocket. So you wanna make sure you're doing a nice job, you're not hurting anything, and you're giving back the customer's firearm in a much better condition than they gave it to you in. So I'm just going through, I'm wiping down any residual manufacturing lube and fingerprints from working on it, stuff like that. Nothing crazy here. Now, you know, same thing on the optic. We've been touching all over that too. So you can go through and just wipe it down. Any smudges, stuff like that. So I really don't ever clean my glass with my finger. I do use a optics pen. I found much better success going that route than trying to wad this up with my fingertip and scratching the hell out of it. That's that. Rifle is nice and clean. Everything is tight. We know everything is level, and now we know it is bore sighted. So, what's next? Taking it to the range, and we're going to save that for another video. So if you've liked what you've seen here today, if you've learned something, give me a comment below. Tell me how I'm doing, so that we can continue to make quality content. I look forward to my career on YouTube, and I hope you guys come along for the ride. So cool. At the end of the day, it's about having fun, being safe, make sure you're shooting straight. If you have any comments or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me in the comment section below. Look out for our next video. Peace.